It is 11:47 p.m., your phone screen lights the dark room. You open the banking app one more time, knowing the number has not moved since you checked 40 minutes ago. 187 showing on the mobile screen. Rent hits in 9 days. Your car needs brakes. The credit card statement sits unopened on the counter because you already know the number, and you are not ready to see it again. You put the phone down. You pick it up. You open the app. Same number. You are 26. You work hard. You are not lazy. You are not stupid. Every paycheck arrives and leaves at the same speed, and nothing in between changes. At the grocery store yesterday, you put the olive oil back, not the cheap one, the one step above the cheap one. You did the math at the shelf and moved on. You split a streaming password with a cousin. You skipped the dentist. You say no to the wedding because the flight costs more than a week of groceries. You tell people you are too busy. You are not busy. You are broke. This is what zero feels like, not the zero on paper, the zero in your chest. At this level, money is not a number. It is a weight. It follows you into every room. It decides what you eat, who you text back, and whether you sleep through the night. The rule at this level. Money is time. At zero, you have none. You trade your hours for a balance that evaporates before you notice it arrived. Your Sundays feel like Thursdays. Your Thursdays feel like walls. You count down to payday. You count down again before the money lands. You work not to grow. You work to stay in place. The shift begins when you stop asking the wrong question. The wrong question is how to earn more. The right question is what is leaking. You open the subscriptions tab. You open the receipts folder. You open the bank statement and read every line. The leaks are smaller than you expected. The leaks are everywhere. The phone goes dark in your hand, $187. You put it down, you pick it up, same number. You go to bed at 1:14 a.m. In the morning, you set the alarm for 5:30 a.m. You make coffee from the cheap grounds in the cupboard. You drink it black because milk is on the list of things you skipped this week. You sit at the kitchen counter and write a single sentence in a notebook. I will not be the same person at this counter in 5 years. You close the notebook. You go to work at 6:14 a.m. The day starts. 18 months pass. You stop eating out 5 nights a week. You start a small income stream on weekends. You pick up extra shifts. You cancel 2 subscriptions you forgot about. You sell 3 boxes of items from the closet. Your account reads $10,247. Something quiet happens in your chest. The phone does not feel heavy anymore when you open the app. At this level, the numbers are small. The shift is not. You walk into the grocery store. You still check prices. You buy the olive oil one step up. You do not recalculate at the shelf. You walk past the wine without flinching. You buy fresh bread from the bakery counter for the first time in 3 years. A client pays late 1 week. You breathe. You pay rent anyway. The balance dips. The balance climbs back the following Friday. The first shift is not wealth. It is oxygen. You sleep through the night for the first time in years. You stop refreshing the app at 11:47 p.m. You look at the number once in the morning and go about your day. Here is what life looks like at this stage. Money buys one thing. A pause. A small pause between a problem and a panic attack. A small pause between a bad week and a broken year. A small pause between your income and your identity. The rule at this stage, stable is the condition where the gap between problem and panic widens. The widening is small. The widening is real. The shift begins when you start using the pause. You think about why the last 5 years went the way they went. You think about what you own and what owns you. You start reading. You start listening. You ask questions the people $10,000 behind you are not asking yet. The first $10,000 changes nothing in your wallet. It changes everything in your head. You start to walk more slowly at the grocery store. You start to sleep more deeply at night. You start to keep your head up when you pass a coworker who used to intimidate you. You stop avoiding the mailbox. You open the credit card statement on the day it arrives. The number is no longer a verdict. The number is a fact. Facts you handle. Verdicts you flinch from. 3 years in, your savings reach $50,000. Some of it sits in a Roth IRA because someone at work mentioned the word, and you looked it up at lunch. Some of it sits in a brokerage account in 3 index funds. Some of it sits in a boring savings account you forget to check. At this stage, friends ask if you got a raise. You did not. You changed your behavior, not your income. You learn the word compound. It stops being a vocabulary word and becomes a feeling. The money you saved 2 years ago is making money without you. You did nothing this month, the balance grew anyway. The growth is small, the growth is yours. The rule at this stage: income builds survival, assets build freedom. The two are different sentences in your life. You stop thinking about the next paycheck. You start thinking about the next decision. The car you wanted, you do not buy it. You drove the old one another for 3 years, not out of shame, out of math. The vacation you wanted, you take a smaller one. You feel nothing lost. Your friends hit credit card limits. You quietly step off the treadmill. Nobody around you notices, not yet. The shift begins when you start to see two kinds of people: the ones who earn money and let it leave, the ones who earn money and let it stay. The gap between them is not income. The gap is behavior. You become the second kind without telling anyone. A coworker upgrades to a luxury car at the same income as you. You drive past them in the parking lot in your 8-year-old sedan. You feel no envy. You feel a quiet calm. The calm is built from a number nobody at the office knows. At 100,000, something cracks in your chest, not joy. Relief. You pass the number on a random Tuesday afternoon. No celebration, no message sent. You stare at the screen for 11 seconds and close the app. Up until now, you were surviving. You were gripping the ladder. At 100,000, you feel the wall behind your back for the first time. At this stage, an emergency stops being a catastrophe. Your car breaks down. You pay. You do not cry. Your tooth cracks. You go to the dentist. You pay. You do not borrow. You sleep differently. You negotiate differently. You say no to jobs you hate. You speak in meetings. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You sleep differently. You negotiate differently. You say no to jobs you hate. You speak in meetings. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You read contracts twice. You ask what your time is worth. You stop chasing every opportunity and start choosing. Something else sneaks in. The ceiling feels closer. The climb gets steeper. Every dollar past 100,000 feels harder to earn than the first 100 combined. You realize the ladder has rungs you had not noticed before. Each rung takes more than the one below it. You meet people at this level who stay here forever. They bought the upgraded car, the upgraded apartment, the upgraded vacations. They stop climbing. The shift begins when you promise yourself something different. You have not upgraded yet. You keep the old car. You stay in the old apartment. You invest the difference and wait. The wait is years long. The wait is the entire game. You write the promise on a sticky note. You put the note on the back of the bedroom mirror. You read it every morning while you brush your teeth. The note says one sentence: lifestyle inflation is the thief that dresses like a reward. The note stays on the mirror for the next 11 years. At $500,000, money speaks differently. You are in your mid-30s. You own something. A small apartment with $80,000 in equity. Shares in a company. A side business that pays its own bills. You are not rich. You are not poor. You sit in between. A stage no one talks about honestly. At this stage, life feels quieter. Not happier, quieter. The noise of bills has stopped. The noise of ambition has not. You start watching other people. The ones who stopped at 500,000 and drifted. The ones who pushed past and became something else. You wonder which one you will be. The rule at this stage: money no longer comes from labor. Money comes from decisions. One good decision outpaces 10 years of hard work. One bad decision erases a decade. The stakes change. You stop sharing your balance with friends. You stop posting. You stop explaining. Not out of ego, out of distance. The people you grew up with start asking different questions. Some ask for help. Some ask for advice. Some pull away without a word. You feel the first small isolation of the climb. You realize a hard truth. Money does not solve every problem. Money solves money problems. Money builds the new ones on top. At 500,000, the new problems are not about rent. They are about identity. They are about who you are becoming and who you will lose along the way. Nobody warned you about those. The shift begins when you accept the loneliness without bitterness. You build new friendships with people on the same climb. The friendships are slow. The friendships are real. The friendships will outlast the ones you left behind. You stop trying to drag old friends up the ladder with you. You stop sending them articles. You stop suggesting books. You stop offering to look at their finances. You learn the hard lesson. People climb when they decide to climb. No invitation lands until they decide. Your job is your own climb. Their job is theirs. At 7 figures, something goes silent. You always thought $1 million would feel like fireworks. It feels like a waiting room. Your first $1 million was earned by effort. Your next $1 million will be earned by allocation. The rules of the game change without asking your permission. At this stage, 1 month of good decisions matters more than 1 year of hard work. A tax strategy matters more than a raise. A partner matters more than a salary. You meet people who made their money in ways you did not know existed. You feel small for a month. Then you study. Then you grow. The rule at this stage: wealth is not what you earn. Wealth is what you do not spend while it compounds. Your lifestyle looks like your $100,000 friend's life. The difference sits behind the scenes. The house is smaller than people expect. The car is older than people expect. The portfolio is larger than anyone knows. The cost arrives. Old friends start to feel further away. Not because you changed. Because your problems did. You worry about the tax code. They worry about rent. You both care. The conversations get shorter. You meet new people, they speak a different language, you learn it. At night sometimes, you think about the 26-year-old with $187. You wonder what they would say if they saw the balance now. You wonder if they would feel proud. You are not sure. The older you get, the quieter, the younger you go. The shift begins when you stop measuring yourself by the number on the screen. The number is no longer a verdict. The number is a tool. The tool is for the work, not for the ego. The ego, slowly, releases its grip. At 8 figures, the game is no longer about you. You are in your 40s, perhaps your 50s. Your name sits on papers you do not read yourself. A team reads them for you. You decide on a 10-minute call that moves more money than your first 5 years of labor combined. At this stage, money stops being yours. Money becomes a system, a machine with your name on it. You do not check a balance at night. You review cash flow across 7 accounts at noon. A bookkeeper sends a summary every Monday at 9 a.m. The rule at this stage: attention is the new money. Where you place your focus decides everything the money does next. You protect your calendar like a vault. You say no to 90% of requests. People call it cold. You call it survival. Old friends stop calling. You stop calling. No fight. No breakup. The distance grows on its own. You meet people who treat you differently before you speak. Some offer respect. Some want access. Some pretend not to notice. You learn a new kind of loneliness. The loneliness of being surrounded. Your children, if you have them, grow up in a world you did not grow up in. They do not feel scarcity. They have never returned olive oil to the shelf. You wonder what you are giving them. You wonder what you are taking away. At 10 million, you have solved every money problem. You have inherited 1,000 problems that money does not touch. The shift begins when you stop trying to recreate the old version of yourself for old friends. You become the person you are now. You write checks for their crises without expecting friendship in return. You give without scoring. You give without explaining. A cousin needs a down payment. You write the check. A high school teacher's medical bill arrives in your inbox. You pay it. A childhood friend asks for a loan. You make it a gift. The giving is silent. The giving is unsigned. The giving is the closest thing to peace at this stage of the climb. At 9 figures, money stops feeling like money. You are older, grayer, quieter, a house on a hill, a team that runs your life, a net worth that most people do not picture in real terms. You do not buy things anymore. You buy time. You buy privacy. You buy distance. At this stage, the final rule arrives, and it does not feel like a rule. It feels like a mirror. Money, at the top of the ladder, does not fix the person. Money magnifies them. The anxious person becomes more anxious. The generous person becomes more generous. The angry person becomes angrier. Nothing softens, everything amplifies. You look back at the 26-year-old checking the balance at 11:47 p.m. You remember the olive oil. You remember the weight in your chest. You realize something you did not expect. The weight, the one you spent 20 years running from, never fully left. the weight changed shape. At 0, the weight was scarce. At 100 million, the weight is meaningful. The climb did not remove it. The climb rewrote it. You are free in every way money measures. You are caught in every way money does not. The shift has been complete for years. You sit in a quiet room, no phone in your hand, no balance to check, no bill to worry about. You realize, for the first time, the question was never how much. The question was always who. Who do you become at each level? Who do you lose? Who do you find? At the top of the ladder, the money is an answer to a question you stopped asking years ago. It is 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, somewhere in a small apartment tonight. A phone screen lights up, a 26-year-old stares at a balance of $187. Rent hits in 9 days. The car needs brakes. The credit card statement sits unopened on the counter. They put the phone down, they pick it up, they open the app, same number. They do not know yet. Every level changes them. Money at each stage rewrites something quiet inside. The ladder does not end at freedom. The ladder ends at reflection. At 0, the lesson is weight. At 10,000, the lesson is oxygen. At 50,000, the lesson is behavior. At 100,000, the lesson is leverage. At 500,000, the lesson is identity. At 1 million, the lesson is allocation. At 10 million, the lesson is attention. At 100 million, the lesson is the mirror. The 26-year-old does not know the lessons yet. They only know the number. They do not know the climb is not about reaching the top. The climb is about watching who you become at each rung. They do not know the weight never leaves. The weight only changes shape. They put the phone down, they pick it up, they open the app again, same number, $187. They turn the phone face down on the bed. They stare at the ceiling for a long minute. The refrigerator hums in the kitchen. A car passes the window. The headlights crawl across the wall and disappear. The climb has already started for them.